Hey, good afternoon, y'all. This is Carolina Weather Authority meteorologist Joshua Nagelberg. Lots to talk about in the tropics once again. I know it's October, but we are not going to let up any time here in the next couple of weeks. So you'll, of course, want the latest from me, so please smash that subscribe button and invite your friends to do so as well. You can join our Facebook page, Carolina Weather Authority, and we've got a website as well, carolinawxauthority.com, for the latest. All right, well, don't freak out at this point, but we're starting to see some potentials for what could be a threat in the Gulf next week. And I'm not talking about the storm right now, Gamma. I'm talking about the next one, which could be Delta. Again, some time before we see this potential, but we're starting to see model guidance become, I'm not going to say consistent, but at least start to sniff out what may happen here. So I'm putting this graphic out there, and yeah, there's a massive area of uncertainty, but these are areas that more than likely the potential storm could go based on steering currents later next week. Gamma, on the other hand, is going to hang out here if it doesn't get sucked into Mexico, which, by the way, is going to be really bad flooding-wise for Mexico and Central America, Guatemala, and Belize. A lot of rain in this area and in these mountains. May still be a factor if it survives and lets this next system, Delta, get out of the way. Maybe something next weekend we have to still look at. I'm hoping not, but, you know, strange things do happen in the Gulf of Mexico when steering currents are on the weak side. All right, so here's Gamma. It made landfall just after noon, and a 70-mile-per-hour storm. We thought it could be up to a hurricane, and very well could have been, by the way. We don't know for sure, as there's a lot of sparse data here from Mexico. But it's now inland and should weaken some tonight into tomorrow before re-emerging into the southern Gulf. Looks a lot less likely it's going to continue this direction, and most of the model guidance brings it this way and even try to loop it back to the south and west as a tropical storm. And intensity forecasts and track are a little more uncertain in this neck of the woods than you would normally have this time of the year. So I will talk a little bit about that. Also on the map here, 3 other areas we're watching. This one is the one I'm going to talk about, potential Delta down the road. Now starting to distance itself from the Colombian and Venezuelan coastline and should have a shot at developing near the southwest coast of Jamaica, the Caymans, and western Cuba as we head to the very end of the weekend, but more than likely on Monday. I think we could have ourselves our next named storm. We'll keep an eye on these 2 waves right now. This one down here could be something to keep an eye on if it survives wind shear in the southwestern Atlantic. But again, that's well off. We're not going to spend much time worrying about it, as we do still have stuff to worry about in the Gulf of Mexico. You can see why. Look at how warm the waters are in this area. A lot of ocean heat potential. Typically, October is a hotbed for storms in the Caribbean. The question mark is how far north do they like to come? The northern Gulf cools a little bit, but still could support a storm. So do not write off the Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida coastline for something later on. However, storms have a better chance, I think, of strengthening down in here and down in here where the ocean heat potential is higher. Makes sense, doesn't it? So here's a satellite photo. You can see our tropical storm Gamma just inland now over the Yucatan Peninsula. We've got a kind of an area of moisture coming up through Cuba, and that'll push up through Florida and up the southeast coast along an old frontal boundary, which should wash out next week. But this will produce some showers up the east coast into the Outer Banks here for tonight and tomorrow. Not going to be as much rain, though, as off the coast, so that's some good news. Here's our next system. Weak circulation could form down in here, and it's tracking west-northwest toward Jamaica. Here's the third wave behind it. Very disorganized, and then a circulation here, which is the one that actually absorbed the remains of Paulette, which is probably not going to develop, but we'll keep an eye on it just in case. Shouldn't be a threat to land, though. Here's a look at Gamma. You can see the storm definitely blew up overnight and strengthened steadily right up through landfall. Would have been a hurricane if it didn't make landfall, I'll tell you that. But now should start to weaken and produce some torrential rainfall in the Yucatan, Belize, and parts of Guatemala, as well as mainland southeastern Mexico. Recon was going to fly into it. Actually, they did leave, and then they turned back for the 2nd day straight. That's your tax dollars, folks. I guess they figured either there was something going on with the plane, just like yesterday, or they figured it would be a waste because the storm moved inland, or they didn't get clearance. Either way, a little frustrating, I'm sure, for those folks, but they should be landing here soon. Here's what happened with the plane that came out this morning. Saw pressures dropping steadily from 996 to 988, and landfall pressure was 980, estimated by surface data. So the pressure dropped almost 20 millibars from yesterday evening to this afternoon. Pretty good drop of 20 millibars, a good strengthening storm. That good thing that land is in the way to kind of keep it from going any further at that point. Model guidance, for the most part, keeps it a tropical storm. Maybe one or two solutions try to re-intensify it if it hangs out over water long enough. So we'll keep an eye on it down here. I'm going to discount these models showing rapid intensification because the storm has already made landfall and should not strengthen. It's going to weaken slowly. Guidance, for the most part, brings the system back here and then brings it down here, and then the future is a little uncertain. It could either continue going inland, or it could get sheared and fall apart, or it could get absorbed into the next system. And there's a slight chance it may try to loop back and hang out long enough to be maybe a problem down the road after the next system gets out of the way. So I'm not going to rule that out. It seems far-fetched right now, but I'll give it about a 5% chance of occurring. And if that happens, then we could have another issue in the Gulf Coast. I would not rule it out at this point yet, just because the guidance doesn't show it. But again, that's not looking super likely at this point. Rainfall up the southeast coast looks pretty light, but it's not going to be pretty at the beaches. If you're going to Bald Head or Cape Lookout or Hatteras, could see a few tenths of an inch of rain through the weekend. Should move out here by Monday morning, and should be a pretty dry week upcoming after that. All right, so that is Gamma. Let's talk about 92L, which I'm going to call future Delta because models do show that occurring. Right now we've got disorganization, but a little bit of a weak circulation starting to pull away from land right now. And as it gets up into here, far enough away from land, wind shear lessens and the moisture is there behind the moisture that got pulled westward by Gamma. So we could have Depression 26 and then Delta as soon as Sunday night, Monday, it looks like. That would be near Jamaica. But yeah, a lot of rain over the central Caribbean, and that's definitely, with this kind of size, of concern down the road. A storm that's bigger has a better chance, we think, of developing if it can avoid some landmines such as wind shear, dry air, and land. Guidance has gotten run on this system, and you can see a west-northwesterly track into the Gulf of Mexico towards next Wednesday. This would be Monday near Jamaica, Tuesday near the Caymans, and just south of Cuba. Wednesday in the Gulf, Thursday, and this is Friday, I believe, where the northern Gulf potentially could be a hot spot for a potential storm. The GEFS is kind of in the same agreement, going near or just to the just across western Cuba in 72 hours. That puts it at let's see, Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday midday, and then Tuesday night out here. This is Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So maybe something that Louisiana has to watch out for as soon as Friday or Saturday next weekend. Guidance on the tropical model shows intensification fairly steadily right up through around Cuba here, and then continuing. Cuba's just kind of maybe a quick speed bump. It goes right back to intensifying, and we see only 4 models being run, all of them showing a hurricane. So that's definitely a concern to me, and should be to you guys in the northern Gulf at this point as well. So where would this system go? Well, let's take a look at the 500 millibar heights. These are troughs, which are the cooler colors. Ridges are the warmer, at about 18,000 feet up. So you can see on the map here, this is our system, Gamma, and here is the next system, potential Delta. The trough is going to entice them both to come northwest, but this ridge here is going to get shoved back to the west by this upper low. So what we will see is this ridge builds in, and that protects the northern Gulf Coast temporarily from Gamma coming up, but does not protect from potential Delta. In fact, potential Delta could be large enough where it puts a bit of a kink in the ridge here by Tuesday and Wednesday. So we could have a 1-2, 2 storms occupying the Gulf about 500 miles apart from each other, and we'll have to see if they try to interact with each other. My hunch is they probably won't, and that's that the stronger storm will kind of absorb the smaller storm into it, or we could just have 2 storms that are socially distancing themselves. So we'll have to see about that. But what I will show you is that this ridge weakens enough towards Wednesday and Thursday in the Gulf anyway, where another upper low or a bit of a trough near Texas on Friday could pick it up and steer it northward before the ridge tries to build back to the west. So there is a window of a few days where it could make that north or even northeast turn, and that's what I'll be watching for you folks. The ensemble forecast solution shows system number 1. This is Gamma tomorrow. And yeah, it looks like it's going to go towards Florida, but then notice that stops because of the ridge that blocks it here. Everything goes back to the west. As we head on, though, this is our next potential system here by Thursday and Friday. You can see comes up and then across Cuba, and this is the area we're watching for next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And now we've got potential solutions going up into the Panhandle. Oh, by the way, Gamma down here, if it's still around and survives, may try to, after this system moves out of the way, may try to come back up toward Texas or Louisiana. So we could have a 1-2 still. And then, oh, by the way, we'll keep an eye as a few solutions bring this next wave into the Florida Bahamas area But again, way too far out to make that call right now. European shows as well. System number 1 here, number 2 here, and number 3 out in here. We'll take a look at the probability of a system tropical storm. Here's the best chance with Gamma, of course. But as we move on, the next system coming up, the European ensembles show potential storm. So this is 1, this is 2, and towards Louisiana, Mississippi, and this is next weekend, potentially a storm up in here if this model's right. Oh, by the way, we'll watch this area as well. And then the chances, of course, drop off as there's more uncertainty. The HWRF model shows Gamma right here weakening over the Yucatan, coming back into the Gulf by Monday, and then stalling and pushing westward. Here's system number 2, potential Delta, coming up through the Caymans on Tuesday. Now you can see the two storms are far enough apart. This one is staying weaker, this one is intensifying, and as we go further out towards Wednesday, we have likely a hurricane over the southeastern Gulf and a tropical storm or depression in the Bay of Campeche. And this is, of course, the one that catches my eye as we hit to Thursday and Friday, 970 plus millibar hurricane possible. That's probably category 2 moving into the northern Gulf if this model is right. And this may still be around once this one gets out of the way. Could still try to make a move northward later on. We'll have to see. Finally, we'll look at the European model. It's a global model, so it's not going to be quite as fine. It's more of a coarse model. Shows our first system, Gamma, weakening near the northern coast of the Yucatan, then drifting southwest and heading towards Campeche. This is Tuesday afternoon. Here's system number 2. European picks it up pretty well and brings it northward. The two storms are socially distanced by about 500 miles on Thursday afternoon. And we'll see about this one. It shows it weakening as it approaches the northern Gulf Coast next Friday and Saturday and actually stalling. So that's another concern too. We could have a slow mover here that's going to have us scratching our heads like we did during Sally. So I'll stop right here because it's really tough to try and predict what's going to happen a week from now when you have more than one storm on the map and you've got weak steering currents. But when all these tropical models do show something up in here and they all show intensification to a hurricane, that's caught my attention. And I'm not wishing it on anybody, and I'm not telling you guys to cancel next weekend plans. Just be a little bit more aware of what could happen down the road. That's my advice at this point. And, you know, this will likely change again several times. We've seen that happen too. But yeah, definitely something to be a little more concerned with as we have a potential system up in here. Question mark is it going to come inland? Is it going to stay strong? Will it weaken, or will it stall over here and get pushed on by the next front? And the answer to that we will find out later. All right, folks, have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon. God bless.